Okay guys, so there's basically 3 different ways of setting up your belt. You've got a military contractor type, you've got a law enforcement, and you have got the civilian kind of instructor level. And there's some similarities with them, but you have to realize what they each do. And military and civilians have a lot of commonalities with the way they set up their belts because they're shooters, right? So a lot of military guys are shooters, and or certainly they're planning on shooting, and civilians are setting theirs up specifically for shooting. And law enforcement have a different agenda, right? Because law enforcement, 95-98% of their job is not shooting their gun. I guess that's just sweet gun balls falling on the roof. 95-98% of their job is not shooting their gun, and so because of that, their guns are set up, their systems are set up a little bit different. The other thing is because they're not shooters, a lot of theirs are set up very poorly for shooting. And what I mean by that is, look at, the most common example is the leather magazine pouches that are sideways on their belt. I mean, leather magazine pouches are slow enough as it is, much less putting them sideways on your belt. It's a very poor design, and they're going to be inclined to fall out. They're slow to draw. There's really no advantage to that unless there's some specific law enforcement reason that I don't know about. It's a poor setup for a shooter. So I say that not to bag on the law enforcement officers, but just to tell you that the vast majority of them that we deal with, they're not kind of shooters. Yes, they might know their weapon, but they're not shooters, and they're not doing the avid amount of shooting that military and a lot of civilians are. Okay, so our belt, I set mine up as a civilian instructor belt. It's actually very similar to how I set it up in the military. That's why I say there's similarities. So when you set up for a, let's go ahead and get this gun off of here. It is clear, by the way, but we'll set it down over here so it's not flailing around. Okay, so we have our belt here that we set up, and as a law enforcement guy, you're going to have it a little bit different because you're going to be looking at, your mag holsters over here. You may or may not have an M4 mag on there. It depends on whether they're certified with them, whether their department issues them, and whether they're allowed to carry them in their patrol car, right? If they're only reserved for, SWAT team issues, or the department can't afford them, or they just simply don't issue them to all patrol officers, there would be no need to put a spare mag for that gun on here. And for the unlikelihood that you're ever going to use it, you're almost better off taking this off your belt at that point in time and putting a mag keeper and putting 2 30-round magazines on the gun itself, simply so you're not lugging that around, because they actually do need a little bit more space on their belt, right? Because law enforcement officers, what do they have to carry? They have to carry 2 spare mags for their gun. They need a radio, and a lot of radios, I know it's all digital now, but they still have the radio, even though it's a lot smaller. They need a handcuffs. They've got to have their baton, their mace, and their taser, right? So they've got a lot of stuff that they have to carry. That's not including the stuff that we generally have to carry just from a shooter standpoint, like tourniquets, medical, flashlight, pocket knife, all that stuff. That's just kind of the minimum gear that's going to be on their belt. So you're seeing a lot of guys actually swap out and go to tack rigs because it's a lot more comfortable to carry around all day and get it in and out of the vehicle. So that's kind of the difference here. Now let's set this up for military civilian use, right? So military use, I had a vest. So I only kept 1 magazine on my belt because I had 5 on my vest, 1 on my belt, and 1 on my gun. Yeah, 7 total. So I'm trying to remember the loadout on it. 7 total, 210 rounds. So that's kind of a full rattle of your loadout for your M4. So that's how I would generally carry mine when I was in Afghanistan. And then you would have your radio. A lot of times guys would keep their radio on their belt. I kept mine on my vest when I was in country. I don't know that I do it the same way, but military radios are really big and cumbersome, and so it was easier to throw it on my vest, and I'd actually put it in the back so I could just back there far enough so I could change the channels if I needed to, but that it was kind of out of my way. Now, we have a tourniquet on ours, and then you can see I do carry a little War Poet push dagger, and I keep that. This is kind of the lethal side, right? So we have our firearm, everything goes in here. This is kind of our lethal setup. Anything I'm grabbing over here with my right hand is lethal, even though I do like actually using the push dagger with my non-dominant hand. That's set up specifically so I don't grab something accidentally. Now, this is kind of a general setup for an instructor. You may or may not throw a medical pouch on here. I don't keep a medical pouch on here for instructing because we have medical pouches all over the place out here. There wasn't a lot of need to put one on there. If you're going to put one, rip-away pouches are the best way to go. But if I was running this as a civilian and I was going to say either go be a civilian contractor, or I was planning on the end of the world happening or whatever, or I just was not even the end of the world. You have like an issue like Hurricane Katrina, right? And then you put a group together. Okay, we're going to kind of protect each other's property. Everybody's on armed patrols. At that point in time, put a battle belt together or have it together, and you're kind of ready to go. Or you may want body armor. So there's some different ways of handling that situation. But IFAK or your medical kit is a good idea to have on your belt. Like I said, because of the way that we operate, I have either IFAKs out here at the range, or if I was going to have to go on a patrol or something like that, I have my vest, and my vest actually has everything on it. My vest has my IFAK on there, has my nods, it has my spare magazines for my M4, it has 2 spare magazines for my pistol, for my Glock, and so there's some different options on there on how you want to set this up, but the reality of it is that you just need to really look at your mission set and what you think you could potentially be doing. Most civilians, right, we're training, and we're doing some training at the range, and just because we enjoy it, and it's certainly practical and pragmatic to be good with our firearms, and so we come out here and we spend some time working on fundamentals, and for that matter, really all we need is a pistol and the two mag carriers and tourniquet strapped on the back. Because we're doing communication here on our property, we have the radios, and then my wife and I, we do executive protection, so we're set up for radios and stuff like that. We do PI work, so again, having radios and comms and stuff like that is important, and so because of that, we have radio pouches on all of our equipment. We have radio pouches up the ass. So that's just kind of a reality for our way of life. Now, that is kind of a streamlined, slick setup, because again, I don't like a lot of stuff on there. That is kind of what I consider to be the bare minimum. The only thing that I would consider taking off here would be the spare mag carrier for the M4 magazine. But that one I always felt was kind of on my belt, was kind of the, oh shit, things have really gone to hell. You have guys that, they fall in the lakes, or not the lakes, the rivers in Afghanistan. And that's why they have that pull harness on their vest. It's so they can pull their vest and it'll come apart. At least then, if you got out, you'd still have a magazine on you, right? You'd have some sense of ammunition and defense while you get back to base and kind of regroup and regear. So that's kind of our basic belt setup, y'all. And again, this is not a one-size-fits-all, but this is the way that we set it up. There's a couple things that are changing about this going forward. I've actually ordered new mag carriers. These are Blade Tech mag carriers. I use these for years. The reason I'm swapping these to the taco-style Scorpion carriers from G-Code is actually because they will then work for both my Glock magazines, our Shadow Systems magazines, as well as for our Wilson Combat magazines, because I carry a Wilson Combat SFT9, and so that allows me to put both magazines in there, depending on what I'm running that day, and so there's a little bit more flexibility. I run typically all double stack 9mm, whatever gun I'm running, and so that allows me to have one magazine carrier that works for all of those. The thing I like better about the Kydex is they tend to last a little bit longer. Quality Kydex does. Lower quality ones tend to break, but quality Kydex tends to last a little bit longer than cloth ones. Cloth ones do wear out, especially as you get out training a lot. But this belt has seen a lot of use and still looks relatively clean and new. So I've been very happy with it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to let y'all go with that. Thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to y'all later.